Well, it has been a busy week in the NFL. Monster, a lot of big stories that we've been following as we get ready for almost the midway point of the season. It's hard to believe that we're kind of zeroing in on the midway point.
Yeah, we're finding out which teams are real, which teams are not.
Well, let's talk a little bit about it right now with our good pal Rodney Harrison, who has joined us before, and we're always excited to have Rodney back on the program right now. And let's just get right to it. The Greg Hardy story has been kind of dominating not only our show, but the national shows as well. You know, with a guy like yourself having played so many years in the league, number one, did you ever play with guys that had that kind of temperament? And if so, how did you deal with it?
Well, I mean, I was a guy that was very emotional, and I would blow up on the sidelines. Nothing disrespectful as far as, put my hands on a coach or slapping a coach's bill, anything out of his hands, anything to that degree. I think it was one of those situations where what the Cowboys are trying to do, they're trying to downplay it. But when this guy was brought in, he was no angel, and that's what people fail to realize. Everyone seems so surprised that this happened, but this guy, he's always been kind of emotional wreck like this. I think he's a tremendous football player. He was brought in to get to the quarterback, not to be a role model and to be a model citizen. So for us to sit here and expect this not to have happened, I think we're crazy. I think we're fooling ourselves.
I don't disagree with that. At the same time, Jerry Jones is ready to give him a long-term contract and not discipline him, and that's kind of the weird message it sends. Now, Rodney, you know as well as I do that he's had these kind of players for the Cowboys ever since he's owned the team, so there's really no surprise. We've seen guys like this in the past, but it is a little surprising that I think that Jerry is ready to suddenly throw a multi-year deal down unless he feels that, hey, he can get him pretty cheap.
But, it's funny because I was reading an article, and he said, he had guys like that before, Michael Irvin and some other guys, Charles Haley. And I think really he looks at it as no big deal. I mean, matter of fact, he's probably looking at it like a lot of coaches, secretly behind the scenes and general managers like, man, wow, I like a guy that's fiery. I like a guy like that that's tough, that's willing to stand up. So a lot of times, we can have a perception of a situation, but owners and general managers and coaches behind the scene, they're celebrating that type of emotion. Man, the guy's a great football player. And I think it's all in the way he handled the situation. If he goes to his teammates and the coaches and say, hey, I apologize, I got let my emotions get the best of me, then they'll forgive him. And as long as it doesn't happen again, then, he'll keep the respect of his teammates. But if it happens again, that's when you have to have issues with him.
Well, Rodney, let's talk about the Cowboys and the fact that they've lost 4 games in a row. They're going to have to start winning, especially because I think it's going to get away from them. Dez is probably going to play, hopefully going to play, but how long do you think it's going to be until the Cowboys actually get back on track?
Well, first, they got to start with Matt Castle, and I said, hey, he'll give him a spark, which he did, but I said the one thing about Matt, he's not great. He'll throw some balls up there for grabs that you'll scratch your head and say, what the heck is he doing? Despite the 3 interceptions, the guy still made some plays, and he did some good things. And, you can look on the offensive side of the ball. The offensive line played well. I thought La'el Collins played extremely well. I thought their running game, Darren McFadden looked like the guy that that years ago we anticipated him being. So, those are all positive to draw from, but obviously you have to cut out the turnovers. And defensively, I thought they did a good job on Odell Beckham. So it's a lot of things. Despite them losing, it's a lot of positive things that Jason Garrett is telling these guys in the meeting rooms. He says, hey, guys, except for a couple plays here and there, we should win this game, and they should have won that game.
Rodney Harrison with us right now on our Village Inn hotline. Rodney, this division's a mess. You look at it, between the Giants, Eagles, and Redskins, plus the Cowboys, you could ask anybody right now who's going to come out on top, and it's a total crapshoot at this point.
It is. It's amazing, man, because Washington looks so bad in the first half against Tampa Bay, and it's just, then the Giants, one week they look completely lost, and then they come back and they win. I don't know. I just, I guess I have to agree with Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy keeps saying every week that, hey, it's about that quarterback. The Giants have the best quarterback in that division. Obviously, if Tony Romo was healthy, then I'm all the way Dallas. I felt like Dallas would win the division, or them or Philly at the beginning of the year. But I really felt strongly about Dallas because of Tony Romo, because of Dez Bryant. But obviously, when you don't have those guys, it really hurts your chances. But you have to stay with the Giants, and with them getting the spark from JPP, and who knows what he eventually will be able to bring. But I still think that he's going to be a lot better than any pass rusher that they have, and I think that's the missing link on their defense is a dominant pass rusher.
Rodney, I want to get your thoughts on the Miami Dolphins now that they got rid of Joe Philbin, you got Dan Campbell, they've won 2 in a row. It seems like he's turned it around. How many games do you think they've got to win for him to land that job?
I don't know if it's a number. I just think that it has to look pretty good. I mean, like, they have to be competitive on Thursday against the Patriots. I'm not saying they necessarily have to beat them, but they have to be competitive. And they have to be able to bring that type of emotional and that type of execution every single week. And if they can do that, if Ryan Tannehill can just play consistent, if you get your best players like Sue and Cameron Wake and Rashad Jones playing the way they've played the last couple of weeks, I think he'll keep the job. I really do, because I don't think their owner is opposed to keeping a guy like Dan Campbell, a guy that the players obviously respect, they listen to, and a guy that played the game, for a long time. So, you don't necessarily have to go out and get a big name coach, but he's going to have these guys playing on an emotional level every single week for him to keep that job.
Speaking of your former team, the Patriots, oh my God, what a game that was with the Jets last week, Rodney. Unbelievable. I think what impresses me the most right now is you lose Darrelle Revis to the Jets, and they don't miss a beat. Right now, I still think the Patriots, week after week, are just one of the most impressive teams in the league.
Yeah, they are the best team in the league, and and I tell you, man, I mean, everyone talks about Bill Belichick. Yeah, it comes from him. But it's those assistant coaches, man. I've been in that locker room, man. I know the classroom. I know the attention to detail, how deep they are in terms of studying and getting, their second-tier guys prepared. I mean, for you to go in a game with Malcolm Jenkins and Logan Ryans and those type of guys that you really never even heard of. You probably never heard of Malcolm Butler before he made that play in the Super Bowl. But his preparation for these younger guys, man, and that's what happens. They don't have a lot of superstars. Yes, they got Rob Gronkowski and Tom Brady, but the rest of those guys are kind of serviceable guys. Look at the offensive line and the job that they did, against the Jets. They gave up 3 sacks in the first half. The second half, they completely shut them guys down, and Tom Brady had his way, and he felt very comfortable behind that offensive line.
Are you surprised with what's going on with the Colts?
Yes and no. I didn't think that Andrew Luck would regress. But I understand, because I think he's, and he came after the game and said, I feel fine. No, you don't feel fine, because, you can look at your performance, you can look at your throwing technique. He's not fine. He's still hurt. And I think it's up to the coach, and I think it's up to him to go to the coach and say, look, I'm not 100%. I'm hurting this team. Maybe I need a week or 2 off. We'll see what happens this week, but, I mean, they got their hands full. They got a tough schedule coming up with Carolina and Atlanta and some other teams like that. If they don't get it going, you will be surprised. Maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars win this division.
Last question for you, Rodney, and that is, week after week, I'm becoming a bigger believer of the Carolina Panthers. I wasn't sold after the first month of the season. Now, all of a sudden, I'm buying. How about you?
Man, you know what? And they give me a hard time, because I just look at the Carolina Panthers and just say, you know what? They're 6-0 now. They're playing extremely well. The defense is tough. They got some really good ball players. I don't know if I played in 4 Super Bowls, and I just don't think it's enough to have Greg Olsen on the offensive side of the ball. I know they got a tough running game, but they don't have any weapons at the wide receiver spot. I just don't know if they have enough to get to the Super Bowl. We'll eventually see, because when you're playing on that level, yes, you got to have a tough defense when the weather changes and be able to run the ball. But those outside guys have to be able to make plays, and I'm not sold on Ted Ginn Jr. and Philly Brown.
Well, Rodney, it's always great having you on. We appreciate the insight, and we'll look forward to having you back here in the future and talk more football with you.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Rodney.
All right, so there's Rodney Harrison with us, kind of breaking things down for another big week in the NFL. And Monster, I don't know, you talk about that Patriots game tonight against the Dolphins. It's a big one, and all of a sudden, if the Dolphins come out playing like they have the last couple of weeks, then maybe they can, in fact, resurrect their season.
Yeah, because I don't think they're going to win this game against the Patriots tonight. But when I look at this team, I think Dan Campbell has changed the attitude there in Miami, because a lot of people thought the Dolphins were going to actually compete with the Patriots for the division. And if Campbell can get that attitude change, which it looks like he has, I think he should be the guy for the job next year as well.